Hello, everyone, and welcome to International Coaches Club, the podcast where international coaches share their stories and how they've made an impact on their sport in the US, from college programs to professional and national teams. I'm your host, Liran Zamir. Built her career step by step, starting as one of the most dominant players in Temple University history. A two-time All-American, she helped lead her team to 3 straight conference titles and NCAA tournament appearances, finishing her career near the top of the program in kills, attempts, and digs. After college, she kept playing at a high level, competing professionally in the US and representing the Albanian National Team on the international stage. That experience across different levels of the game naturally led her into coaching. At Army West Point, she has spent nearly 2 decades building a program that consistently wins. She became the winningest coach in the program history and has led her team to conference championships and NCAA tournament appearances. Along the way, she has developed players, built strong teams, and established herself as one of the most respected coaches in the country. Alma Kovaci is my guest today. All right, Coach. Welcome to my podcast. Thank you for being here.
Yes, thank you, Liran, and thank you for actually taking an initiative and creating the International Coaches Club podcast like this. It's very important. I wish we had it back in the day when we
Yeah.
first started coaching.
Well, podcast wasn't a thing. So.
Yeah, exactly.
We're not that old. Wanted to ask you what stood out the most from the introduction.
Oh, where do I start? I think all that the introduction is the people. I go back to, you kind of brought me back in that memory lane when I first came to Temple, how scared I was, how my English wasn't very good. And you think you learn English back in your country, but then you come in and you have people with a Long Island accent. And I was like, what? It was just very, very hard. And I go back to village. I go back to like people like Gilad Doron, my assistant coach, that's from Israel, being there for me, my team. My big sister was Sharia Bryan, which is Kobe Bryant's sister. She spoke Italian. They grew up in Italy, and my Italian was very fluid. Really, really, I was very fluent in Italian. And she was there for me from the beginning. People like our student manager, Owen Riley, which helped me with how to even open up a computer, because we didn't grow up with one of them. So I go back to the people that kind of helped me along the way, and from the beginning at Temple to where we are now. So
That's very cool. Yeah,
I've been very lucky.
I'm glad that you had good people along the way. We're gonna go back to them, but I want to know a little more about your early career in Albania. How did it start, and when did you think you wanted to play cross?
Yeah,
Atlantic and play in the US.
Liran, it's been amazing. I love volleyball with all my heart, and I think the players will tell you that. But how I started, it was an interesting start because I grew up in a different regime, right? Women were supposed to get married at age 15, and at age 12, young girls were talking about that. And I knew that at that time that that's not really what I wanted to do with my life. So I asked my dad to take me to a volleyball game. Now, where we grew up, volleyball is the number one sport, and number two is soccer. You know, so it was very easy to have role models on TV. Every Wednesday, every Sunday, there was a lot of volleyball on TV. So I asked my dad to take me to one of the games. And right there, we had front row seats, and I saw these incredible women that kind of defied the odds of where I lived, right? And what we were supposed to do as young women. And right there I saw this woman, and she became my mentor later on. It's just really, really neat. And she was like one of the best players in Balkan area. Ela Tasa, that was her name. She played an incredible game, and right after that, she had her son near her, and like literally gave her dinner right there, gave him dinner right there. And I was like, wow, like I want this. I want to be like this. So I told my dad, and I said, hey, Dad, I want to play volleyball. This is how I want to start. Now, growing up in Albania, you don't have club teams like you have here. The city only had 3 teams.
Mhm.
There's no money involved, but it's very hard to make it into that pipeline. So my school, my third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade, all of our school only had one sport, and that was volleyball.
Same.
So same, right? Yes. So if you were tall and you ended up in the sport class, they called it, you had 2 hours of phys ed instead of 1 hour, and that phys ed was volleyball. So I started very, very early, and that's how I first asked. I started with school, and then I asked my dad to take me to a game, and then I was hooked. I was like, "This is it. I love it so much." So while I started in from like the third, fourth, fifth grade, all the way up to eighth grade, after that, you were part of one club team. There's 3 club teams, but my school belonged to the club team called Partizani. That's where I belonged. So I tried out and made the club, and now you're good. Basically, now you've entered the pipeline. Obviously, you start really young. You pay no money, right? But you're now in the pipeline of, like, becoming a volleyball athlete. And as I continued there, we played. I remember playing outside, like no volleyball court, just outside in dirt. That's how we started, and I loved the game so much. And then I moved to another club team, the Dinamo club team, one of the best club teams in the country and in Europe, actually. At the time, they were known for really tough offense. They were very physical. Now, when I made their junior club team, and then I also practiced with the senior. The head coach at the time, Leonard Tasse, he was it was very known in Albania. And this now the senior club team was basically the one I watched play volleyball. Ela Tase was actually on that club, and I was in awe. I mean, she was my role model since I was little. So, but with one condition, I had to practice with the junior uh, club team, and then I had to stay for another, so let's say 2.5, 3 hours with that. Then I had to stay and practice with the senior team. So I practiced for 6 hours. And I remember, obviously, we didn't have cars, so we biked down, finished school, went to high school near, I had a bike, finished school, went to practice, and I stayed for 6 hours, and I biked back home, which, by the way, was all uphill.
Nice.
Yeah, it's really nice workout.
Good to see that.
Yeah. And then I think my desire and the love for the game was really big at that time. But I go back nowadays, and you don't think like that when you're little, but for me, volleyball was, and where I lived wasn't really in the downtown area. I lived a little bit farther, and I think I had a calling of really making sure that I was also a role model. Like, I wanted to be a role model for my peers, for my neighborhood friends. Like, hey, you guys can do it. If you can put this, if you can have a mindset, if you can do this, put your mind to something that matters, kind of thing. And so now I realize what I really wanted to do with my life. It was the love of the sport, but also I use volleyball as a vehicle for success, for a better life in a way. And going from that, I made the national team at 14 years old, the senior
Oh
national
wow.
team. Yeah. Yes. And then I remember playing with my junior national team, playing with my senior national team. I had 2 suitcases. At the time you have to get visas. So by the time I came back, my passport was somewhere else. Another
The
visa.
luggage, yeah.
Yeah, the luggage. Um, but again, it was very beautiful. I thought it was a going back to the sport. Volleyball gave me a way of to see the world, you know? I remember my first trip was to Italy, and then after that we went to Malta.
Mhm.
And that was beautiful. And right there I knew that I was kind of made to travel and see the world. Like I missed home, but not as much as my teammates, you know? And yeah, and then as I continued to play, as I continued to get better, and oh, of course, remember the being being a volleyball player in Albania and playing for one of the best club teams in the country means the means that the gym is packed. You know, like there's no seats like left open. You know, like everybody was there. Lines were huge to get to the games. We were on TV a lot. So I also had a platform on TV, being able to actually get to meet the president. I got to talk about volleyball, about our lives, and I enjoyed that. The more I kind of like continue to practice and get good at volleyball, the more I realized that volleyball for me was um, a platform to show young women that you are capable of doing more than you think you can, you know? And then yeah, and then we came with the club team. We came to the States in 1996. It was our first trip. And we came to Queens College in New York.
College. Oh, New
Yeah,
York.
yeah, in New York, Queens College in New York. And then we got back, and I start having a lot of phone calls and scholarships, and I'm like, what is this? Never in a million years did I think that I would be coming to the United States. I think the clear path for me was finishing high school and playing pro. I thought like somewhere in Italy, Switzerland, Greece, like somewhere close to my family. Family was very important to me. But when I started to get a lot of scholarships and a lot of phone calls, I started to think a little bit differently. And that was, wow, like I never thought this was a possibility. And I said, I could go to school, I could get an education, I could play volleyball, and I can travel the world and still be a good example, you know, a good role model. And also like the idea of what if I get injured? What happens to me? You know, like if I go play pro, what if I get injured? What's the next step? And now during this time, um, we were going through civil war.
Mhm.
We were a change of regime. A lot of civil war was going on. I will never forget one of my memories was coming back from the 6 hour practices, and the people had actually entered our like our weapon area, and they had actually gotten weapons out and started shooting. So as I'm coming home around 9 p.m., my dad was actually a cop. And he was driving back home and asked, mind you, there's no phones, there's no cell phones, there's no nothing, you know? Uh, and because the road home was so uphill, I had taken the road that's a little bit longer, but closer to our military academy, our weapons place, right? Storage. And I didn't know. I had no idea what was going on. My dad knew. Everybody knew it was on TV, but I was coming back from practice, so I had no idea. And I am about 17 years old, I believe. And I'm coming home and I can see people firing, right? I thought they were fireworks. People shooting. I mean, I could see them like the bullets kind of going over. And I'm like, oh, fireworks. This is cool. I had no idea. I get home and my dad is, "What road did you take?" I was like, "Oh, I took this road." I was tired. And he goes, "There is no more night practices. Like you are not going. They cannot have this practices this late at night." So then I actually at that time practices kind of stopped a little bit because of the civil war and the unrest, the civil unrest that was going on, and the embassies closed. Well, I was connecting with Temple University and American University at the time,
Mm.
and I had a scholarship from Temple. The embassies opened up late, so I remember preseason had started at Temple, and I go to the embassy when it opened up. There were probably 100 plus students in line. And at the time, this is 1997. There was the international students coming with scholarships was just the beginning. Um,
Mhm.
and there was a lot of students that were going as exchange students, but there weren't a lot with scholarships. 4 people out of 100 plus students were able to get a visa. Everybody else got denied. One of them was me. So I got that visa and I'm going home. And at the time, I go back to saying how lucky I was to have parents that were progressive,
Mhm.
parents that told me, Alma, you can do whatever you want if you put your heart in it, your heart and mind into it, and we'll be there to support you. Now, during this time, my dad had said, yes, you go to America. This is awesome. Yeah, you can do it. Sure. I don't think he ever truly believed that I was actually going to leave. I had done all the paperwork myself. I had taken the test and everything that needed to take. And my parents had $2,000 and they gave it to me in their savings to actually study English. And I had to do it. I think that I had to, that was their savings. I had to do it. And I did it, but they never truly believed that I was going to get a visa. So when I go home and I wait for him to come from work, I said, Dad, I have my passport. I have a visa. He goes, you have what? I was like, I'm leaving. And he's like, no way. Like, and then it kind of hit him like a little bit. And yeah, and I will never forget, when you're young, you take the risk. When you're young, you're taking that risk. You
Mhm.
don't think twice. And I'm so glad I didn't. I took that visa and I took that risk. And the rest is history.
That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing the story. It was you covered a couple of questions that was
Yeah.
perfect, but it's very inspiring, and I think sometimes people here in the U.S. underestimate or tend to forget the struggles that people not from this country need to go through in order to get to where they are, and it's not just a given. So thank you for sharing, and I hope it it's very inspiring. Um, and then so you made the decision, you got the visa. What do you remember about that transition period from, you started in Albania, you played in front of packed gyms, you were very well known, national team very early on. So what do you remember about the transition to the US and what was the hardest part in adjusting?
Oh, yes. I think the language was a pretty big deal for me. Even though I thought I learned English at the time, we learned British English, not necessarily
Mm.
American language English. Very, very, very different. I remember a football player asking me what's up, and I looked up, literally looked up. He goes, "No, like, how do you do?" And I was like, "Oh God," like that was embarrassing. Uh, my friend asking if I joke, like I have jokes, right? And I said, "Oh yeah, I jog." They're like, "No, I didn't mean that." Like just like this stuff like that, it was very, very different. I remember missing um, pregame meals because I was very shy in the beginning, and because I didn't know the language, I felt very lonely. I think that was one of the biggest things. I felt very, very lonely because coming from where your game is on TV and being able to have friends and teammates and come into a place where you don't know the language, I thought that was very, 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 very hard. And because also like the gestures, and I had a friend actually from Israel. When you say no, it's it's more like this, or like this, like when you shake your head. So my coach would say, Alma, do you know where you're going? And he thought I said yes with my gestures, but I actually said no. So, and I was very shy to even ask. So I had no idea where people were going for pregame meals. I found like a store next to me and I had some food, like stuff like that.
Uh-huh.
And it was interesting because it was more the question, where is Alma? Where's Alma again? Where is Alma again? And I was like, Coach, I told you I don't know where it is. And he goes, from now on, he says, there is no more gestures from you. You're going to have to say yes or no. I thought that was very, very interesting. So I think the language barriers was a big thing. The culture difference was a really big one as well. And then the other big thing that I will never forget is I didn't understand the conferences. I didn't know that there was more than one conference. I came from a country that had just like 7 teams, 8 teams, and that was it. I didn't understand them. People tried to explain it to me, and I said, I have no idea. I'm just gonna go play volleyball. So I have, goal is to go win. I got it. And the other piece is when my coach, Bob Bertucci, gave me a piece of paper that we had to basically recruit 10 people to come to the game. And I said, what? And I was like, I have to recruit people to come to the game? And he goes, yes. So the first game comes and there's like not that many people in the stands. And I'm like, Coach, where is everybody? And he goes, yeah, there is, this is it. And I said, that's it? I was like, who are we playing for? So like I didn't, that for me was a completely different, like a huge change because volleyball is a show. Like I grew up, that's a show. And we came here and we were playing in front of like 100 people, where I was used to playing in front of thousands of people. And that was really a big change. And mind you, I think growing up, maybe you as well in Israel, it wasn't always the young generation, right? You had the older people come to the game, and I was used to that. Well, at Temple, you had your students, and that was it. Like the community wasn't as involved. I think it's better nowadays, but like in '97, that wasn't the point. And I thought that was very hard. I think trying to get the energy from the crowd that wasn't there. I thought I found that very hard to adjust as well. So a lot of differences, but some funny ones. I had never tried potato chips in my life. I had never had a McDonald's burger. Yeah, a lot of that for sure. I
You like
thought,
you like Big Macs now?
oh yeah, sure.
Americanized?
I actually definitely gave the freshman 15 for sure.
That's funny. Well, yeah, and a lot of coaches said the language is one of the main pieces, and of course, a cultural adjustment is something that is clear. And I was wondering what kept you, so you had all that. I'm sure now you can laugh about it, but back then, I'm sure you struggled and you missed home, and you probably thought to yourself, "Why do I need this?" So, what kept you going and keep pushing and trying?
Yeah, and that's a really good question. I think going back to y- your mindset, number one, two, the people you surround yourself with. I go back and I was telling myself, why am I here? I had it all in Albania. I could have had a pro contract easy. Like, why am I going through these struggles? And I remember Gilad saying, Alma, stick it out the first semester. It gets better. It's a transition. We've all gone through it. I think having those international coaches and players around you, I think that's a huge help because they've gone through that. Number two, I would say that I think a sense of when you come from a country that has nothing, that the power and the water is with times. You had water in the morning and you had water in the afternoon. When you go through a civil war and you practice with jackets because in the winter that basically the place where you practice is completely open, the glass broke and everything else. Um, when you think like that, and you come to a country that basically you have heat, you have power, you have coaches, you have everything. Um, you tend to think things a little bit through. And I said to myself, number one, I think is going back to the sport. Like I love volleyball. I have everything I need to succeed, right? I have people that love me here, and also I wanted to be a role model. I think that was a really big piece. So going back to that, well, how I think having that calling, using that volleyball as a vehicle for success was like number one for me, and showing starting with my neighborhood friends and being on TV and talking about you can do what you put your mind into. I didn't want to quit. Quitting was not an option. Quitting was not an option. And I kept talking to my mom as well. I'll never forget that when I said, Mom, I want to come back. Like, this is too hard. And she said, Alma, we love you. So remember, we didn't tell you to go. You wanted to go. Come back. If that's not for you, then come back. You are loved. And I think when she said that, I said, I'm good. I'm gonna be right here. And I remember the first semester I was put in a lot of classes. I wanted to go into sports management. And my coach had put me into classes that were kind of dual, like you had to write a lot of essays, writing intensive courses. Well, I had never seen a computer in my life. I didn't know the language, so I really struggled. So the second semester, I registered myself. So I made sure I got some easy classes in there, a lot of some PE classes that could get me at least to get used um, to the culture, to the language, to the barriers that are part of international players, you know, and it got better after that.
Yeah. Yeah. Very good. That's fantastic. And the rest is history.
Mhm.
Um, yeah. So, you went there, you say you struggled, but not just
Yes.
outside the court, but on the court, you didn't really start.
Yes.
Um, after being a professional
Yes.
star or a national team star, and that was pretty. I'm sure it was new to you and kind of shocked you.
Very.
How did you adjust to that, and what changed? How did you prove that you belong on the court?
Yes. Very good question. I definitely struggled in the beginning. I struggled because I had never truly been on the bench. I knew I can play, but I also knew that because we were going through civil war, I actually didn't get to practice for at least a month or two.
Mm,
So I didn't have the conditioning, the base to actually come and compete. And when I came to Temple, everyone is in great shape. Everyone was lifting. Everyone has conditioning. Everybody was really good athletes, you know. And I didn't have that base. I knew I had the skill, and I think it took me a little bit. And I also like we can't forget that I think the culture barriers, the language, I think that kind of made me shy and not made me really be myself on the court. And after a month or two, I started to basically continue to work harder in conditioning, work hard in lifting, get more reps. I think the one thing that kind of kept me is that I knew how to play. I told myself I can do this. I am capable. I remember my coach. We had two courts, always two courts, right?
mm,
And Bob Bertucci would do drills like you have to pass an attack, and he would put two antennas and be like, "Hey, I need you to hit this line." So he'd be like, "Alma, come over here with the outsides," and I would pass, setter would set, and I would hit that line like nobody's business. You got to hit 8 out of 10 in on the court line. I was like, "Got it, easy." And I was like, "Okay, 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10." I was like, "I know how to do this. I got it," you know? And I would do it as like he would say, "Alma, awesome. Now go back to the other court." And he kept doing and doing and doing it. And I kept practicing and basically accomplishing the goals that coach wanted me to do. And then I remember it was a fifth set or something like that. I think he got mad at one of the players, and I was the first one on the bench, always cheering loud, always just being involved. He was like, "You go in." And I felt like that was my chance. It was a fifth set. I remember there's moments you remember throughout your career, and I think that's one of the first ones for me. I remember being served. I remember the adrenaline being there and jumping so high, closing my eyes and hitting very, very, very hard. And I opened my eyes and there was a point. And I got set again and again and again. And we won 16-14 or something like that. And I think at that point, coach was like, Alma, you got it, you know? And this was not it was mostly like half of the season or so. So I didn't start in the beginning. And then from once I had the opportunity, I took that opportunity and I ended up playing in every single game and actually becoming rookie of the year, I believe, like that first year, yes. So again, I never lost confidence, but I worked really hard every day. The way I knew how to work, you know, I never blamed anyone. I never blamed anyone. I I just put my head down and worked because I had the work ethic from back home, if that makes sense.
makes a lot of sense. Very good. And I'm glad I asked this question actually, because the answer was fantastic.
Oh,
And then you had a successful career. You won I believe, 3 conference championships. By that time, hopefully you knew what a conference was.
Yeah, I knew it by
Uh,
then. Figured it out.
and then you were one of the top players. Just a side note, we're 18 kills short of the school records. Sometimes I think about those points, 1 point here, 1 point there, that we were missing to like a conference championship or something. Is this still something that you think about?
You know, no, I don't. Actually, it's interesting because I never really even counted my kills. I remember Gilad actually helping and keeping some of the newspapers and all that stuff just for memories from me because I never did. And I still have them to this day, some pictures and some of the memories, but I really truly loved the game. I loved competition. I think as a team, we had a really great culture. I think at those years, the seniors we had, going back to Sharia, Bryan, Tamu, Cooper, some of those girls were just unbelievable. So I really enjoyed playing. So I never really truly thought like when we would finish games, they'd be like, "Wow, Alma had so many kills." What I cared the most was winning, number 1. Number 2, efficiency. Like, for me was, did I do my job? And while, let's say, our coach had a 250 hitting percentage for me, I was like, "Nope, that's not good enough for me. I need to be in the 300s, 300 plus," you know? I think it was always that mindset that I can do better, I can help my team. I think that was and also being a lefty outside is a little unique. So I played that to my advantage as well. So I never really truly thought about the kills. Now, I wish I had some tape so I could show my own kids that I played volleyball
Oh yeah.
or my team. Um, but I never did. I never did. I think it's cool. It was cool to have it. But I also met the lady that the former player that has the record at the time. I think my coach, Bob and Gilad, probably wanted me to get the record. Had I not gotten injured a couple of times for longer period of times, they were like, "Alma, you had 25 kills per game, so 18 was nothing for you. You were one half a game shy from winning that record." But I don't. I really truly enjoyed my experience so much.
That's very cool. And we keep saying Gilad. For the people who don't know, Gilad Doron, he was a coach at Temple. He was the head coach at University of San Francisco, head coach
Yeah.
at Dartmouth, and now he's the volleyball director at IMG Academy in Florida. Good friend. Good friend.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so you were playing, you were kicking ass, and
Yeah.
what point you thought to yourself, there's a recurring theme to this episode. You said that you wanted to be a role model and use volleyball as a platform, as a vehicle. It's kind of natural to go to coaching, right?
Yeah.
But what made you realize that that's what you want to do after your playing career?
Yeah, I think going back to, also, like, going from Temple to the Pro League, that just started as well, and I know we didn't have anyone that had gone pro from Temple, and I wanted to do that as well. I wanted to break the barrier and go, and then after the professional league, it only lasted, like, 2 years or so, I felt like the next step for me I mean, I actually wrestled with it a little bit because I said, do I want to go play some more or do I want to coach? And right away, I felt like I could still compete. I could still compete in clubs. Like I played for the Creole club team in New York, and I loved every minute of it. I made some of my best friends to these days. But I wanted to give back. I wanted to give back to the sport, and I applied for assistant coaches everywhere. Honestly, at the time, and it's funny how the sport of volleyball, the world of volleyball is so small. Everybody knows everybody. I applied at West Point, and I didn't know enough, but I knew there was a prestigious, and especially in Europe, West Point is this prestigious academy. People know about West Point, right? So I'm like, "Wow, what an incredible place. I'm going to apply," because it is so unique, you know, and I wanted to be part of it. I didn't know enough. I just knew it was unique, and these women do so much, you know? So I applied, and then literally a couple hours later, my coach calls from Temple, Bob Bertucci, which is a great friend, a great mentor. he called and said, "Alma, do you realize where you applied?" And I said, "Yes, I applied at West Point, the military academy." He goes, "You better go do some work. This is something really big. The head coach actually called me and about you." And I was like, "Oh, great," you know. So then I got to talk to Glenn Conley, which a dear friend to this day, like sometimes God puts people in your life that are just incredible. I talked to him on the phone for a very, very long time, and we connected really well. And then we met at a convention in New Orleans, actually. And as he was looking for an assistant coach, and I would be the first one he would ever have. And then going back, there was at the conventions they have leagues in the afternoon where coaches play, right?
Hmm.
And I think he saw me play and he was like, "That's it. Like I need you to be a role model. Like I want you to come to West Point to visit for an interview because, the way you play is how I want the girls to see this." So I actually came and visit West Point, and right away, Liran, I was in awe with I go back to the people. I had lunch at somebody's house, a professor's house. I had never seen that. I could feel like I had been away from families for so long that I kind of felt that sense of warmth, that sense of community that I had missed. And then I went to practice and I got to meet these women, and they wanted to be doctors, they wanted to be lawyers, they wanted to be engineers while playing the sport. And right there I was inspired by who they are as people. And again, my goal was I wanted to win a national championship. That's what I told myself. So I said, what better place to start than West Point? you know? Recruiting must be tough. you know I would connect with these women because the way I grew up, where I came to school, there was a cultural change, right? The women that come here have a cultural change, but they do have goals, they have grit, and we would kind of have a good fit, right? Like we would fit as people. Yeah. I mean, Glenn was a blessing. He hired me, and also I had to get a work visa, all that stuff. It wasn't easy going from a professional. The visa situation is never really something easy, but he committed to me, and it took him a long time to hire me. And I remember the AD at the time told him, there aren't there other US citizens that you could hire? And he goes, "No, I want Alma. I want Alma to be part of our program." And I am always thankful to him, and I have so much gratitude for Glenn for taking a chance on me as a 24-year-old, and with a first job. I had never recruited, never done anything, never. I'm not even from this country. So he took a chance on me, and I'm always forever grateful to Glenn for giving me that chance. And yeah, I came to West Point, and I've never left.
Very good. Yeah, all the way to a national championship. And you started, that was your first position, 24, pretty good age for an assistant coach.
Yeah,
But then 3 years later, you became the head coach.
yeah,
Um, and we're hoping it's relatively young to be a head coach in a Division One at
yeah.
that age, which is fantastic. But couple of questions, I guess. I'll go two directions. First, what was the hardest adjustment from assistant to head coach? Did you realize that was early on in your career? Um, and then also, it's like it's not just for player to assistant to head coach, but it's also a prestigious program. So
Yeah, yeah,
how much pride did you find in it? What was the main struggles? That's where I'm going with it.
yeah. Well, I think people believed in me more than I believed in myself. I think that was probably the first one I would like to start with, because I remember going to the meeting, and the AD said, "Alma, we want you. We want you to be our head coach." And I thought that was incredible. I knew the team wanted me to lead them as well. And at the time, I would have been, and I was the first female at West Point as a head coach at a very young age. I had never seen a budget in my life. I had never connected. I didn't know the business side of coaching.
Mhm.
And I thought that was very, very hard. And leading a program I didn't know. I didn't expect to be a head coach. I never had a 5-year plan, if that makes sense, Liran. I was more be where my feet are and do my absolute best. I never looked ahead, honestly. So the change there was, I think having, like, not knowing how to run a program. That 100-day change cycle. Have you heard about that? Like, when you, like, go through panic and all that. I had it all. But I go back to the village and people. I remember being in the office till 10 p.m. at night trying to figure something out. And I remember Coach Jim Flowers at West Point. He coached softball, been here for years. He was also in the Army. Coach Q from track. They would come in my office and kind of see me, my tears in my eyes because I couldn't get something done. And they're like, "You got it, young girl. You got it. You can do this." Like, just like their motivation was unbelievable. And to this day, Coach Jim Flowers, now he's retired, lives in Texas, and he calls me like, "I'm always so proud of you, like making it to the championship again." Like, I still get those calls, which is pretty awesome. But again, West Point, I'm blessed with amazing people. So, for example, I talk about the budget, how I had no idea how to build a budget and all that stuff. Having our CFO, at the time, Anne Marie Thompson, kind of like take me under her wing, and show me how to do it. My sports supervisor, Monica Love, being there for me, not only as her coach, but also as a friend. At those times, you have to remember that. Um, you're not just a female head coach, you're also a person, you're a human. And then West Point has something amazing here that I will talk about is the tutors. We have volunteer professors that help with our program, and also a mentor, which is they're called officer representative. And every program has them. We also have the head office representative, which is basically a mentor, is usually the head of the department. So I had, at the time, was Colonel Jeb, Cindy Jeb, and she became the dean of the school, a one-star general, and now she's the president at Ramapo College. But I remember when I took the program, she also took me back. It's like she'd come to my house. She would come to the office. I would go to her office because I didn't know how to work the military side of West Point. Being a head coach at a young age is something, but being a head coach at West Point is something completely different. Uh, the time you have your with cadets is very small, and you have to be very efficient with that, right? But then all the other stuff, the military, I had no idea how to do. And having General Jeb or Cindy Jeb be my mentor, be my friend, was incredible. I remember, I remember her, and I'll talk about this because I think it's important. Being a young female at West Point, uh, at the time, was tough also because no one really truly believed that I was a head coach. I looked like a cadet.
Mhm.
So she said, "Alma, if they don't call you coach, you do not call them sir or colonel. You call them by their first name. That is the number one lesson you'll get from me." So it was very hard for me not to say sir or colonel, whatever. you know. If they called me Alma, if they don't call me coach, I call them by their first name. It's like, you have to do it. You have to establish that. So she showed me how to have confidence. She showed me how to always give myself grace, that I don't have all the answers, and also show me how to create my village. That is the one thing that I always, even to this day, when I talk to young coaches, is you're not going to do it on your own. You have to remember to have your people, to have your circle, and to create your village. And I think she showed me how to do that, to have the right people on the bus, the wrong people off the bus, before you go somewhere else. So I've talked about the business side and the village. But I will talk about the team, the transition from an assistant coach to a head coach, and being a female. I had the respect of the players. I thought that was definitely something that I was blessed with, you know? I don't know if it was West Point graduates, West Point people. I had the respect. And but I could also see, coach, my back hurts today, or this happens. Can I have some time off? I was like, well, go see the trainer, and then you're okay, kind of thing. Like having that toughness and that grit there, like we're good. But they truly responded really well to me and to the transition from an assistant to a head coach. I was afraid that I was going to lose the connection. I think that's the biggest piece for me is I've always led with my heart, understanding people. And sometimes the chain of command, even at West Point, can get a little tough at times because, as a head coach, you'd be the last part, the chain of command. You would go first to your assistant, and I always had that. I had a great open conversation with the head coach, and I was afraid I was going to lose that, but I never did. So I thought that was really good. I was always still connected to the players the way I was as an assistant. So I think that volleyball transition was easier than the off the court transition as a female young coach at West Point.
Very good. No, very good. I'm glad that you that touched all the different pieces of the transitioning from assistant to head and like starting young, which is good. And then you said earning the trust of the players just by being yourself and touching
Yeah.
seeing them like still talk eye to eye and all those. Um, what do you like? How would you describe your coaching style today compared to when you started, and how did you see it shift over the years?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I've made a lot of mistakes in this journey. I have I never I had great coaches growing up, but there was never a time where I would talk about my feelings growing up in Albania. I don't think that was a thing. I did not have any female head coaches. That wasn't a thing. So, and I never really understood the emotional side of giving it all on the court. So I had to learn that, through the journey of coaching. The one thing is that the players were always open with me, and I really enjoyed that. I thought that part has been really good and continues to evolve. Um, yeah, so I would say I have grown and I continue to grow. We're all work in progress, right? But one thing that I continue to have is that I am going to always connect with players. I always want them to trust me of who I am, and I'm always going to be authentic and genuine. You can never be someone else. You have to be you. And I'm always learning how to coach with heart and love.
It was very good. And I love that that's your pillars. Love and compassion. That's
Yeah,
fantastic. Um, Thank you for that. Army is a very unique school. It's not just a regular college. It's where students are being trained to serve their branch. So there are three. There's Army, there's Navy, and there's Air Force.
yeah,
Um, and it's obviously, gives you a lot of struggles. The first one would be recruiting, right? Because not everybody wanted to serve in the military. But I was thinking about the players that already committed, right?
yeah.
Um, and I'm sure there is a lot going on because they need to, they told us that you have time for school and your sport, but not really social, right? You need to commit to two full-time things. But here you have school, army, and volleyball, army and military training. So I'm sure there's a lot of mental blocks and mental struggles for the players. Can you share a little bit about that, and what do you do as a coach to help your players overcome them?
Yeah. Um, yes. Recruiting at West Point is unique, but I am recruiting anywhere is hard, right? But I am blessed because I truly love West Point. I truly love having women that can think about, using volleyball as a vehicle to success, wanting to be doctors, wanting to be lawyers, wanting to be engineers, and also wanting to do something bigger than themselves, wanted to serve. Most of the time when we're going on the road, we don't truly we talk about serving, right? And I think the biggest piece there is connecting ourselves with them, telling them about West Point and telling them about the love of the sport and what it can do and what West Point can do for you, right? And I think right there, them learning about who we are as people. You have to actually connect with people first before they can hear what you have to say, right? West Point itself, Kaizen, is prestigious. It has that one of the best academic schools in the country, right? And but once they learn about the opportunities that you have as cadet athlete, right? And how you serve, most of the biggest piece here is education. I think people don't know enough about what happens, when you're at West Point and when you get out of West Point. When you get out of West Point, you're actually in leadership positions. I think that is the biggest piece. What you are learning at West Point is character. We're going to graduate doctors, lawyers, engineers, right? But leaders of character is the number one piece,
Mhm.
right? These people that we recruit don't always have that desire right away. I'm going to go serve my country, right? That's not really the number one thing. The number one thing is I'm going to get a great education. I'm going to play competitive D1 volleyball, and I have a chance to learn leadership character for my future, you know? And as they go through the first 2 years of West Point, they actually learn about what they can do as leaders, in the future. So you don't have to make your commitment to the military and after the first 2 years, right? So you come to West Point for 2 years and then you say, do I want this or do I not want this? And then you kind of learn about your branches in the army. I am I am blessed to be able. I mean, it's so amazing because being here for 24 years, I literally just got a text message from one of my players, my first recruits that now is becoming lieutenant colonel,
Oh,
and she had no idea about West Point at all, growing up, no military background at all. And she graduated from West Point, wrestled with the idea if she wanted to be in the Army or not. She chose medical service branch. She served. And she also went to grad school at Yale, came back at West Point to serve as a professor, and now she's finishing a PhD at University of Washington. She's becoming a lieutenant colonel, and then she's coming to teach here permanently. So she basically just said, "Hi, coach. I know you won't be able to attend, but wanted to ensure you received an invite. I wouldn't be at this point without you." I mean, these are the things that are like incredible opportunities that the like student athletes or prospects don't know what West Point can do for you. So I am blessed to be able to be in such a unique position that I can talk about West Point, about leadership, about character, and young women as officers.
that's very cool. And thank you for sharing the text. That's very sweet and good job
Yeah.
developing those people as people. Um, I do want to go back to volleyball and your
Yeah.
coaching style. I was wondering, so you had the grit as a player, you proved to everybody that you deserve to be on the court, and you were breaking school records and find a lot of success. What did you take from your playing career as a player and then transferred to wherever you are a coach right now?
Yeah. I was always, and if you ask my teammates, I was always the one that truly loved the sport. I think that was the number one piece. When you truly love the sport, you can talk about, you can be yourself because you truly love it, right? You don't always have to like it every day. Not every day is easy, right? But there is a deep love for the sport. Being able to be a good teammate, I think that's always been something that has been very important to me. Being a good teammate and helping your teammate through the struggles, I think that's been pretty big. And I will read you another text message that I just got yesterday from one of my former players. And she said, Alma, your heart has been incredible throughout these years of coaching. She said, not only did you love the game so much, but you genuinely loved all of us. Everything was always so genuine, but also always very straightforward. You gave us hard truths and tough love, but we always trusted you and knew your expectations. You lead with your art, and I think She said also the yelling and the heel stomping were just added bonuses. I used to break my heels as I coached back in the day. So I go back to connecting with people. I was like that as a player, and I'm still like that as a coach. When you enter our program, you have my trust 100%. It is yours. So like when you go to school with me, you start with an A, you know, and then decision and actions as we go through our journey kind of determine where you end up in a way. But I always give you, once you're in my circle, you have my trust, you have my love, and I hope we continue that progress, throughout becoming, leaders of character and just great people.
Yeah, that's very cool and very refreshing to hear. Um, you know, we're talking about all the loyalty. Now you give more examples of that and how you want to be a role model. It's a further discussion. So you played in one school
Yeah,
and you coached at one school.
yeah,
It's very rare to see, especially today. Um,
yeah,
so talk a little about the loyalty piece. And do you think that you can hop and jump from one school to another, even as a coach, and kind of build that loyalty and have this vehicle influencing people the same way that you are doing right now? And if you can, at the end, maybe elaborate, say what's next for you. You've been in the
yeah.
Army for so many years, and you're a well-known and respected coach. Do you just want to stay there and leave a legacy for forever, or you want to jump forward?
Yeah, that's a great question. I've always been someone that um, always just, grass is greener where you water it kind of thing. But I go back to what fuels me, and I've gone through some things where I've had offers for sure. I have had decisions I've had to make, and I go back to what fuels me, who I am as a coach, who I am as a person, and how do I want to give, right? And West Point has kind of filled my cup because growing up, since I first started volleyball, I wanted to be a role model. I wanted to break barriers kind of thing since I was younger. I think that volleyball gave me that platform, that vehicle for a better life, for success. And I feel like I connect with um, young women that choose West Point. You know, when you come to West Point, you have challenges, right? You are, first of all, you're committed to something bigger than yourself, right? And it is a transition. It is a cultural change. No matter, maybe it's not a language barrier, but it is a cultural change, right?
Mhm.
I feel myself that I am at best at that. You know, when they first come in, I want to help. I want to be there because I have experienced that. Fear, panic, it's one feeling. It's like it doesn't change if it's a language barrier or a cultural barrier. It doesn't change. I'm comfortable helping young women to see past that. You know, I'm good at mental challenges. Helping students through that as well. I feel like West Point has given me that desire to help so much, and I am forever grateful to the student athletes, to the cadet athletes that have come through this to have me in their lives as, a mentor. So I am blessed and I am happy. I also want to add that I have my husband is also the is in the military now. He is a colonel here. He's a director of admissions at West Point. um, I think he will retire soon. In the next couple of years, I think he can retire. I think that's the biggest piece. But I would like to add that um, he also, just as I am so passionate about young women coming to West Point, he's a West Point graduate. He's very passionate about recruiting and telling young students about West Point. We both have that love, that background of how much we love leading and mentoring young students, and West Point is very special to us. Both we have an 8-year-old and a 4-year-old that go to school here. The environment is incredible. Like the community, I talk about the village. Everybody knows everybody. So I'm grateful, and I am happy to be part of this community. What's next? You never know. You never know what's next. But right now, I'm always been someone that's been be where your feet are, and I'm enjoying my journey for sure.
Very good. That's very good, and thank you for that. No, before we are finishing here, I was wondering if there is a young Albanian coach, whether it's a male or a female, trying to break into the U.S. system. Is there any advice you can give, even for players listening right now?
Can you repeat that question one more time? I'm sorry.
Yes, for the Albanian young coaches and
Yes.
players, what advice would you give them in order to break, and if they want to break into the U.S. college as a player or a coach? What can you what can you say to kind of help them navigate through?
Yes. Number one, faith over fear. I think keep that in mind. I think take um, take initiative, create relationships. I think that's really, really important. I think having this international club, it's coaches. I think us being able to connect with them and allow them, show them the way. I think it's important. Um, and also take the internships, do extra jobs, like remember work really hard and be genuine, and always go for the love of the sport and be who you are. I think sometimes we tend to forget about what's important. I think the relationships, I think working really hard and connecting with people is important to begin with. you know um, Building people first. Go and connect. Do not worry about so much about your career. Go go in people's gyms, connect with people first, and I think your career will come in a way. you know but choose faith over fear. It's scary at times to take the first step. It's scary to be in different gyms, different countries. Take the step. You're never ready. Just take the step. You will be ready when you get there, kind of thing.
Very cool. Thank you for that. All right, so I want to finish up with a little speed round of questions. I have a few questions that I would like you to answer in a word or two, whatever you think is right.
Right.
Would love to hear your opinion. Ready for this?
Yeah.
All right. So, what's the easiest way to annoy you in practice?
Uh, don't do the things I say. Work hard.
The toughest opponent you faced.
Like player or coach, anything.
Both.
Uh, Olomouc, Czech Republic, and pressure-wise Navy.
Very cool. Before we continue, there is something interesting here. Like, I was in the military in Israel,
Yeah,
and here you have Army and you have Navy. And it's like the biggest rivalry ever. That
ever.
you guys hate each other. So
Yeah.
what's that all about? And is it
Yeah, I mean, honestly, what did I know? I had no idea neither. I walked into it and it is incredible. Wherever you go, you say go Armids, beat Navy. That's
yeah,
all you do. When I came in, we had in the bleachers at the parade field, it says beat Navy. It's a thing. And it's really funny because once you all graduate and you go serve a mission, Army, Navy, and Air Force get together to serve.
together, of course.
And it's a fun rivalry, and it's actually kind of fills my cup because you go back to like Albanian day when
Yeah,
gyms
it's
were
packed,
full.
yeah.
It's
Exactly.
pretty awesome.
All right. Back to this.
Yes.
One word players use to describe you.
Uh, Passionate.
What's your favorite English slang?
English what?
Slang. Slang word.
Cool. No, I don't know. What's up?
What's up?
I
What's
don't
up?
know what's up. Yeah, I go back to that.
Obviously your English is perfect, but what was the hardest English word to pronounce?
Okay. Michigan,
Michigan.
Arkansas. Like, how is it Arkansas? Michigan, like it's not, it should be Michigan. Like, I don't get it.
Oh, got it.
Simple stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like this, like Nose run and feet smell. Doesn't make sense. And what is up with ship, sheep, sheet, sheets?
Sheep.
Shit. It's like very, very hard.
Wow, that's awesome. I see your it's overflowing the English language with us.
Yes. So similar.
That's funny. All right. Well, your accent in the beginning was advantage or an obstacle?
An obstacle. It still is, I think.
You think so? I don't know. Uh, what was the worst part of American volleyball culture? Or is?
Is I don't know. Gosh, I've never had to think about that, Liran.
Yeah, I know. Put you in the spot.
You did.
I'll skip the next one.
Yeah, okay.
If you weren't a coach, what would you be?
Pharmaceutical sales
That's
or
very
sport.
specific.
Yep, yep.
And then last question, representing Albania or the US if you had the chance as a coach?
As a coach, both. I can't pick. Both. If I had an opportunity, I would do both.
Very cool. All right. Well, that concludes it. Thank you very much for your time. You really inspired me, especially with your earlier story of coming out of a pretty conservative country and stepping out and find this new world and using the sport that we all love as a vehicle to influence others and lead and have people, pushed by you. I think it's really inspiring and I appreciate your time and I really, really thank you for this interview. Is there anything else you would like to add?
No, thank you so much for the opportunity. I think it's incredible what you're doing. I really appreciate you actually having a chat with me about, going down the memory lane. But I always, to the international coaches, continue to be you, continue to be authentic, and remember to build your village and lead with heart and love. I think sometimes we tend to forget with that and just the competition, and we worry so much about winning and losing, but we have to continue to remember that the scoreboard fades and building people will last forever.
Thank you, Alma. Thank you so much for the interview.
Thank you, Liran.
Thank you for listening to another episode of International Coaches Club. Today, it was Alma Kovaci, the legendary volleyball coach at Army West Point, who not only was an amazing player in the US, but also now is an amazing coach. And she is the live example of something very special that is hard to see today, loyal. She went to Temple for 4 years, just shy from the kills record. And now she's almost 2 decades the head coach at one school, Army West Point, which is a completely different animal. It's very special and it's something super unique. But most of all, and this is something that I respect a lot, is that she wants to be a role model. That's her goal in life, and she uses coaching as a platform to be a role model to young ladies who want to play volleyball for her or in other clubs or schools that she can affect. Her childhood obviously led her to be very strong, and she took that and pushed it to a positive direction where now she wants to show that only if you want and believe in yourself and work hard, you can get wherever you want. And she is a truly incredible person and a great coach. And for sure, everybody who's going to West Point will have a lot to learn from her. Not only need to be a special person to go there and decide you're going to a school to become something bigger than yourself, you're also getting a coach that will teach you that regardless. And I think this is incredible. So I'm really, really excited about this episode, and I hope you all listened and can take some notes and all inspired by her beautiful story. If you like this episode, please listen to the next episode of International Coaches Club in a couple of weeks. I'll be there with a new exciting guest. You can follow, like, and subscribe and share on all platforms, YouTube, Spotify, Instagram. We're on everything. So please listen, and I hope to see you next time in the next episode. Bye-bye.